Let's learn Parshat Tisa with Rashi's commentary. We're in the story of the golden calf. And Aaron has said to the people who rise up against him and demand that he make them a god, Vayomer Alehem Aharon, Parku nizmeha zahav asher ba'oznei neshechem b'nechem uvenotechem, v'haviu elai. Remove the golden rings that are in the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me. So interestingly enough, we have golden rings in the ears of wives, sons, and daughters. So we have to imagine that the men have them too, and we have to imagine that gold rings were probably put there by Egyptian taskmasters or slave masters as some sign. So they left Egypt with these golden rings. Now, Rashi's commentary follows a rabbinic trend about Aaron, that we give him some credit for trying to slow this whole process down. And Aaron says to himself in terms of the Rashi commentary, Amar Aharon Belibo, Aaron says in his heart, Hanashim v'hayeladim chasim al tachshitehen. The women and the children are going to be protective of their jewelry, of their earrings. Shema yitakev hadavar. Maybe they just won't give them to me. So by the fact that they wouldn't give them to Aaron, there would be no golden calf immediately, no golden god, no other god. Uvetochach yavo Moshe. And Aaron thought, and that will also give me enough time to delay this whole thing, to stall them. Moses will wind up coming down the mountain. Behem lo himtinu. But, Rashi says, they didn't wait. Hem lo himtinu. The men couldn't wait to surrender their jewelry. Uferku me'al atzman. And instead, the men removed their own jewelry from themselves and handed it over to Aaron. So the gold for the calf itself comes from the men who were ready to give it up for idol worship, for making an idol. This gets us thinking. What might the men, if they had a desire to create some kind of object itself, what might they have created that could express their faith, that could have been an expression of their closeness with God or with Moses? What might they have thought of? Maybe something beyond the list of unique vessels and implements and tools that were described in the Torah to be the very necessary instruments of the music of sacred practice that were going to be used in the tabernacle. Can you imagine? Maybe they could have, before it became a symbol later on, created some kind of star, formation of a star of sorts. The Magen David, the 6-point star, was not a Jewish symbol until much later. Maybe they could have, as we hang gold high pendants, maybe they could have written in Hebrew letters the word life. Maybe they could have made a pole of sorts, like we're going to hear later that there was a special, what sounds to us like a caduceus, snake on a golden staff that helped with the subduing a plague. Could have been a symbol of where the doctor was in camp, if you ask me. Maybe there could have been some kind of rallying symbol made out of gold, like the flags of the camps. We know in later Jewish history, gold was used as a metal of adornment in wonderful Torah covers, more in the Sephardic style than in the Ashkenazic style, the round boxes that stand on reading tables. We know that gold foil was needed We know that they could have started a workshop to simply help create the gold and the necessary precious storehouse of metals that was necessary in order to not only create the special tools described in the Torah portions around ours, but a reserve supply for repairs. What synagogue doesn't need a building fund? I think about the gold that has been used throughout Jewish history. There are certain kind of modern candlesticks in the shape of trees. Might they had sculpted something along the lines of that wonderful burning bush that Moses saw? Where was the commitment to beautiful art as opposed to the insult of idolatry? These are thoughts that arise as we read the Torah and reread the story of the golden calf. We read the Rashi and we think of the men's immediate readiness to contribute to making an idol, to demand Aaron make them a god, to rise up as a mob against him and threaten violence in Aaron's life, as the tradition holds. What shall we do with our precious resources? How shall we invest them? What kind of precious metals are we willing to see among our collection of what we hold dear when it comes to the Judaica that can inspire and that creates a wonderful connection to godliness? That, I think, is a good question for each of us, men and women alike. And what shall we do to enhance our own Judaica collections with a little bit of that wonderful gold or silver or that pursuit that we can make for our traditional rituals when it comes to growing our connection to God, and of course steering far away from associating any of our money, our resources, our metals with the pursuit of idolatry. That, I think, comes through Rashi's thinking about everybody's individual reactions, men, women, children, and what happened during that very, very troubling chapter of the creation of the golden calf, as we read and reread each year in Parshat Tisa.